was listening to the radio in 1966, and I was stoned on LSD, and it was some kind of Motown song, and after it was over, the guy said, and that was Mr. Natural. So I was drawing my sketchbook, and I just drew this little character called Mr. Natural with a long beard. It was real unconscious. I kind of liked the characters. I drew a lot of strips about him over the years. Well, it was Fritz the Cat. It was the first real character that I had to kind of evolve from this cat that we had when I was a kid. And I drew comics about it to entertain my little brother and sister, and then you got more and more, complex character, and then it finally became like this kind of a snotty college student, and then finally after that he was a burned out hippie, and then after that the last thing was he was a burned out media star, and that was after the Fritz the Cat movie came out, and I had to have him killed off. I had this female ostrich girlfriend that he had rejected, stabbed me in the head with an ice pick. In the 60s, the straight media was so atrophied and locked into a certain way of doing things that you were pretty much locked out if you had any idea that doing things your own way or some other way than the way they traditionally were doing things. I wasn't going to go to New York and try and learn my way into the professional mainstream concert. Nothing happening there. For years I'd already ignored that totally, and I was trying to be a commercial artist and working for this greeting card company in Cleveland. I did hundreds of greeting cards. I got so sick of doing cards. Finally I could not do another card, and by the time I quit, I was taking LSD and starting to get out there. I said, what am I going to spend my life doing these fucking cards? And then one day in a bar, I met some guys who said they're going to San Francisco, and I just went with them. Trucking, got my chips finished here, keep trucking, like we do the man together. Oh, that's it, life, just keep trucking on. It was a zoo. These guys said, yeah, there's this place called Haight-Ashbury that's supposed to be something going on there. I don't know. So that's where we ended up with all the other, lost souls from all over America. Ended up on Haight Street, standing there, looking around. I remember sitting in this place called the Psychedelic Shop, just sitting on the floor in there for days when I first got to San Francisco, trying to figure out what to do, what was going on.
It happens at the Avalon Ballroom on Southern Van Ness in San Francisco. Next week, the Avalon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 nights only. Pink Floyd holding the local around there.
The posters were like the way the Kingston Trio was to Bob Dylan, the posters was to the comics. How's that, huh?
Let me
In other words, they paved the ground, so to speak, and set like with one of the things that happened with the posters, you got a system of distribution. All right, the head shops. That's where the comics were first sold. So the posters set up the system of distribution that the comics were going to be sold out. Rick Griffin in particular and myself also to some degree were using comic book images in the posters themselves. Yeah. The posters kind of first exposed comics again in a different psychedelic consciousness.
Well, with the psychedelic posters that kind of motivated me to come to San Francisco in the first place. Some guy brought a bunch of those back to Cleveland and showed them to me, and I immediately could tell that there was a bunch of artists who were on that wavelength, obviously involved with psychedelic drugs, and you could see from those posters that something was boiling out here, I started doing Zap comics and sold them on Haight Street, and then other guys saw it and wanted to do comics also. So the whole underground comic scene picked up from there. When people say what are underground comics, and I guess the best way you could define it is just the absolute freedom that's involved. And I think that's real important. I mean, a lot of people forget that that's what it was all about. That's why we did it, because we didn't have anybody standing over saying, no, you can't draw this, you can't show this, you can't make fun of Catholics, you can't make fun of this or that. We just threw whatever we wanted in the process. Of course, you had to break every taboo first and get that over with, drawing racist images, any sexual perversion that came to your mind, making fun of authority figures, all that. We had to get that past all that and really get down to business. Habitual. I don't know what I could do or what else I would do with my life if I didn't draw comics. It just seems like I somehow got put on this path real early in life, and I can't stop now.
Craftman became the symbol for a lot of the street action and things of that nature that were going on at the time. The 68 Democratic Convention had been, it ended up in a riot, and there had definitely been a feeling that young people simply didn't have to take what was given out for them. They were being sent to Vietnam to be slaughtered in some brainless war. I mean, people were really being misused, and things like Trash Man and underground comics were some way of telling people that there were other people out there who felt the way they did.
The policeman isn't there to create disorder. The policeman is there to preserve disorder.
Freedom of speech was absolute.
Many people have asked me if the fabulous furry freak brothers are actually real persons. Chuckle. You know, a lot of things have happened here in America in the last 10 years. All the men have long hair now. Everybody smokes drafts. Nobody looks for a job with security. Half the people live off welfare. The economy is breaking down. Money is getting worth less and less. The government is sold out to private interests. In fact, about the only things that are worth a damn at all anymore are friendship and real estate. That's why I've invested all the money I've made cartooning into a beautiful old Victorian mansion here in the city, which I'll let the Freak Brothers live in for free as long as they keep it fixed up. Let's go over there and I'll introduce you. It's up on the corner on top of the hill. My house. They dismantled my house and sold it to buy drugs. The foundation, the shrubbery, everything. They ripped off the entire mansion. Those goddamn hippies, where's my shotgun? I'll kill the sons of bitches. Shoot him, fella, Thorazine, Charlie. You gotta help me hold the guy down. The end.
I always used to say the plot sickens, but comics became active instead of passive. Our vision was crawl out there and just wreck the airwaves, just disrupt the whole body politic, scramble it.
The air pirates were, it was some sort of bizarre concept to steal the air, pirate the air, steal the media. It was time, at that time, we were very, it was impossible for one person to stem the conservative tide. So 5 of us thought we would, and that's what it takes, more than one person, but not too many more. Because you can see all the ugly creeping in. By Nixon's second, by 68, him elected by 70, it was bad. So the thing was, let's attack a corporation. Everybody should attack a corporation that of their own. See? And so, since we were cartoonists, the net logical thing was Disney. Yeah, this is where the trouble started here. This is really Mickey Mouse, and that's when we signed our names. The plot was that this was a very dissolute Hollywood star-type mouse, and he and Minnie had an affair which produced 2 nephews, so-called nephews. And so they were kidnapped by their nephews, and by all their the nephews had hired the old villains to kidnap Mom and Tad and get them to the island and get them loaded and give them a Calvin guilt reaction and make them marry each other so the kids would not be nephews anymore, so they'd be the legitimate son and daughter of Mickey Mouse. Mr. and Mrs. Mickey Mouse. So I think what it was when they started having sex in the jail hold. They were in the jail cell, and that kind of really got them going. You couldn't criticize anybody because if you drew a mouse and it didn't look like what the so-called parody version, the parody had been weakened to the point where it loses its shock. If I want to draw Ronald Reagan and I'm forced to draw somebody that looks like something else, well, then it's not him. So nobody gets the joke. Who's that guy that almost looks like somebody I know and what's he saying? The joke just goes to pieces. Parody means, to me, that you get the exact image and you turn it inside out, 100%, 180 degrees, turn it inside out. Wow, that's what I did. Because anybody with half a brain knows that Mickey Mouse wouldn't do this until, of course, we went farther than we were supposed to, and this is the real Mickey Mouse, because they said so right away in court. They busted us and said and charged me $1,200,000. That's a real Mickey Mouse. I said it was a parody. They said no, it's real. I said no, it's a parody. They said no, it's real. Okay, bust me. So they did. Bang, $1,200,000. So 13 years we're sitting in the court. It just takes these old guys a long time. Don't ever put your fortunes in the hands of the law. They take forever. I actually have tape recordings of the Ninth Circuit Appeals sound asleep during my trial. They had the whole thing,
You set a precedent.
Well, we fought back. That maybe was the precedent. Because we started off with a hopeless condition and see what we can do with that. I mean, as long as it was hopeless, why not? If you're going down in flames, hit something big.
Women in overground comics, they were there, but they were not appreciated. They were doing things like color work and They were doing the work, but they were not known. And the romance comics were almost all done by men from a male perspective, done for women. But we're not really representing a woman's viewpoint. My work, apparently, it's like, it projects an image. It must project an image of such innocence. Apparently the style is so innocent that people, they don't see it. It's in front of their eyes and they don't see it. And that's why I've been able to talk about some really, extreme subjects, because the work itself is so accessible and kind of, people call it naive. And so it was always, a lot of people at first said, oh, well, this looks like children's books. And said, why don't you do children's books, which like paid miserably, and like, of course, I mean, how can I talk about things that I want to talk, how can I talk about sex in a children's book? And that's what I wanted to talk about, that and political things. A children's book about capital punishment.
The defendant, Elrod Stelmack, stands accused of the kidnapping and rape of Mrs. Ingle Kitty Beulah. How does the little menace to society plead? He's obviously guilty. I found his footprints in the litter box. Plus, Beulah's flea collar was in his baseball card collection. Due to this indisputable evidence, I find Elrod a threat to the tranquility of this neighborhood. And I'm really grossed out. You're dead, Elrod. I'm sure glad this toaster has a long execution for it. Oh, Elrod, sorry. I don't think he'll ever do it again. Who do you think you are, God? You can't pardon him. It smells like soup. It's hard to keep the crime rate and your electric bill down at the same time.
My poodle is wired. My license expired. I'm under a doctor's care. My mind is a bust. I'm wearing a truss. I like Lonnie Anderson's hair. Oh, tell me a joke. Or get me a Coke. Or throw me a funny bone. I want to say, wow, you can't stop me now. I've entered the Twilight Zone. I'm Zippy for you. I'm Zippy.
Zippy has been described as my alter ego many a time, but I don't think that's quite true. I think what Zippy is more like is a part of me that went astray somewhere in the early 70s and took on a life of its own, and I just try to keep track of him and check in with him once in a while and watch him develop. Zippy doesn't accept shared reality. He doesn't know the difference between himself and the world. You know, Zippy says Fred Astaire is his co-pilot. Fred Flintstone is God. And this is Zippy's cosmology. Internets are kind of like temples for Zippy. They're kind of religious. They hold a lot of mystery, which I think is understandable, because if you look in the little round glass door of a washing machine long enough, eventually you'll see Jean-Paul Sartre in there. Zippy goes for foods because of their attractive packaging, and the second most important thing would be the preservative list on the back. And if you look beyond the simple entertainment crazy value of such things, you will see I am indeed in the tradition of satirists trying to point out that the emperor has no clothes.
I'm Zippy for you. I'm Zippy. Am I almost done? Am I soaking wet? No, it's okay, you're right. Am I having fun? Yes.
has to stand outside the whole thing and look at it and tell you what's going on. It's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it.
The main thing that comics have dealt with has been fantasy. Now you're talking about people who are doing stuff about contemporary life, about their time, about people that they know. They're not making up stories out of whole cloth. They're writing about things that they've actually seen and experienced.
I tell stories in American Splendor using panels and balloons, but the content of it is realistic, unlike the content of most comic books, which is fantasy of one kind of or another, either superheroes flying around or talking ducks, things like that. Ever since I was a kid, it seemed I collected something. At one time it was comics and magazines about sports. Then when I was 16, I started collecting jazz records. At first and for a long time, it was a healthy thing to do. I loved jazz and listened to it closely and analytically. Then for some reason, I got obsessive about it. I was spending all of my money on records. I had to think twice about buying a hamburger or going to a movie. While I was thinking about it, a buddy of mine came over to ask me if he could borrow a couple of rare John Coltrane Airshot LPs to play on his college jazz radio show. He just spare them for a few hours. I'll take good care of them and return them right away. Well, you can use them, but I gotta come down to the studio with you while you do it. While he was on the air, I started to browse through the station's record libraries. I ran across about a half dozen LPs I didn't have and eventually planned to get. I knew that a lot of people ripped off records from that station. So I figured, fuck it, what's the difference? Then I decided I was gonna steal the signs, but I thought I'd be slick about it. First, I checked the bathroom door to make sure it wouldn't lock automatically behind me so I could get back for the sides. Then I stuck the sides in a box of toilet paper. So I finished just playing the Coltrane sides, gives them back to me, and I split. Thanks a lot, man. It's okay. Look, I gotta take off now. So then I make it over to the bathroom to get the sides, but the door is locked. I couldn't believe it. If I had stuck them in a hall someplace, they'd have been okay. No one was gonna come along and see them. But no, I had to get cute and stick them in a toilet paper box in a bathroom. I walked back home in a daze. How could I have been so stupid? What if they find the sides in a toilet paper box? Will they suspect me? My head was all fucked up. I sat down and relaxed and think about my situation. This record collecting is driving me nuts. It's taking all of my time and money. No matter how many records I get, I'm never gonna be satisfied. What am I gonna do? This is like being a junkie. But surprisingly, the next day I still felt fed up with collecting. And what happened was that for some reason I was able to give it up. It's funny how your mind sometimes works. One day you can't bring yourself to do something, the next day you can do it.
This is a typical day with Maggie and her best friend and possible lover, Opie. I just gotta get a hold of $50, Opie. You should take a lucha libre match. Then you could give all your opponents the flying sit down. What about that priest you told me about that used to buy you things when you were little going to that Catholic school? Brother Morris? Ugh, what about him? He's still at the church, isn't he? Maybe you could. Sorry. He's in jail for molesting little girls at the school. Speaking of molesters, what about Del Chimney? He's a slob, but he's always had cash stashed away somewhere. Maybe we could if he wasn't dead. Chimney is dead? Oh, gee. Yeah, Joey and his buddies found him in his house nailed to the wall. He had a lot of enemies, you know. My God. He was the first guy to ever put his tongue in my mouth. I gargled for days. Oh, great. We had to come this way. Oh, the pain. What? Oh, I see. There they are. Black steel-toed bomber boots on sale for only $48.50, and they just happen to be your size. Oh, if you look at them, I just gotta have them all die. You're really choked up about this. How come? You don't understand. If I can't get them, Daffy will get them when she gets back from her trip, who knows when. And she'll rush over to our house, parade them off for us, and talk about what a great buy they were. It never fails when I want to buy something real bad. So what? She's your friend. I'm sure she'll let you borrow them once in a while. Daffy's a good kid. Oh, Kaka, you have an answer for everything, don't you? No, hey, wait, Hopi, I'm sorry, I didn't mean... Oh, Maggie, for crying out loud, I'm not leaving. Hey, Speedy! Oh, yes, Esperanzita, what are you crazy about up to now? You gonna rob that store or what? Or what? And you guys got 50 bones you could lend Maggie? 50 bones? What? Yeah. For what she's drooling at that window. Aren't those just the neatest boots you've ever seen? Shit, they look like chalupas. Chalupas, chicharrones. Ah, hey, don't fuck around. You asked us. What do you know about fashion? That's fashion. Looks more like a horror movie props. Yeah, well, at least I don't endanger my life in that bomb. God, he's so cute and scary, Opie. Yeah, well, it still doesn't get you $50.
I've done 4 different books, and the first one that I did is called Girls and Boys, and it's mostly about the joys of relationships and hairy men and exciting, exotic love, and directions on how to find a perfect love mate and how to get rid of Mr. Wrong. And it's a lot of love information. And it was in that book that I established my crude drawing style that has, rocketed me into fame.
Okay, class, may I have your undivided attention, please? God, her clothes. God, I know. She's the grossest home ec teacher of all. I know.
Hello, young women. As many of you already know, I am Miss Market, and I would like to welcome you to your flowing and sewing semester of home economics. So welcome to the exciting world of womanhood. Some of you are already beginning to notice your body's beginning to change. In this class, we will learn all about these mysterious and wonderful changes, and we will learn about the sewing machine. But to begin, let's start with an informative film strip entitled That Special Day. Lucy, get the lights, please. One day, Tina realized she didn't want to climb trees anymore.
Come on, team, let's go climb that tree in Hicks's yard.
Gosh, John, I don't feel like it. I want to go buy some tampons instead. Tina purchased some tampons and quietly awaited her special day. Gosh, I know it'll be just beautiful.
It will, Tina. It will be so beautiful.
And then one morning, Tina found a beautiful red flower in her underwear. How did this get here? Suddenly, she realized it was that special day. Jane, guess what? I'm a woman. It's so beautiful. It's the happiest day of my life. Now, wasn't that lovely? That's exactly what it's like, too. And now to dramatically demonstrate just how fast our bodies change, I'm going to come to each table and measure your butt. And we'll put the number on that huge chart over there that faces the boys' play field. Jenny, you got a cigarette? Me and Muffy can split during lunch? Ignore her. Ignore who?
It's a magazine that's large format. It presents comics and graphics and text in the service of people's personal visions. And it's something that I started with Francoise about 1980. Francoise, was it 1980, Roll? July 1980. The words raw won't be in black.
Right. Well, she could cut around it.
That's hard. I couldn't do it. I don't think she can.
I can do it.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. One of the objectives for us to make a work of art where the original is any one of the 12,000 copies, and it's made to be a precious object in a way, but an accessible precious object, not a $500 limited signed and numbered edition. When we did this book, like with a number of the books we've done, there's unusual production values where we did this acetate cover where the black plate is on acetate, and well, there's another black plate here, but the red, yellow, and blue plates are printed on a sheet of paper.
This is the first book we ever published, and it was our idea of like a deluxe art and it's newsprint inside, like printed in 2 colors, bound in a piece of cardboard. When I talked to the binder about this, he couldn't believe it, you know, it's like, he couldn't understand the cheapness of the material, as this looks like a throwaway, and still we were doing all of the printing and everything with like this incredible amount of care, so like for him it was like an experiment to drive him crazy. He didn't think that we had any other purpose in life than to confuse the hell out of him. Because this is the same binder we actually did the bubblegum cards. So he saw us and all our friends, like a crew of 10 people, come over and like pack little bubblegum cards and staple them in the magazine with a little piece of bubblegum. So he already thought we were a bit bizarre. And then when we did, there's one issue where we had a record, and then we asked him to like put the record inside the magazine. Fortunately, this could be done by machine. But the issue after that, we actually, yes, this is the one. This is the same binder again, who saw us tear off the covers. And when I first told him, he thought we were joking. You know, it was like, this must be, you know, the ultimate thing that they'll never do, because like this is deluxe full color printing on board and whatever. And then when he saw like another crew of people that was taping it back in, but we weren't actually using the same corner. We're passing the corners along. The tearers would throw them in a pile, and then the person taping it in would take it randomly and tape it inside. Then he thought we were like absolutely out of our mind, because as far as he was concerned, to tear it is crazy. To tape it back in doesn't make sense, because why tear it in the first place? But the fact that it wouldn't even be the right corner, that was the end. I mean, that was the last thing. The response specifically from other artists was great. You know, like they really wanted a place like this to exist. It had nothing to do with making a living, but there's just a need to have a place to publish.
monster. No, up here. What you digging for? It's a secret, kid. But I guess I can tell you. We're digging for buried treasure. Wow, really? How'd it get in Mr. Pinkster's backyard? It was put there by, monsters, yeah. This is monster treasure. Cool.